It's the 75th anniversary of the NATO alliance, with support for Ukraine topping the agenda, but President is fighting for political survival after poor debate performance. Joe Biden is struggling to convince Democrats that he's still mentally fit to run for re-election. Kate Fisher reports from Washington, D.C.
As Joe Biden welcomed delegates to the summit in Washington, D.C., much of the focus was actually on him. At aged 81, he's older than the NATO alliance, an alliance that he hailed, and he pledged that Ukraine can and will stop Russia. The speech was forceful and clear, and so any of his critics expecting to see a stumble like those that he had during the presidential debate would have been disappointed. But this wasn't evidence that he can handle a high-pressure situation. This was scripted, and he read off the teleprompter throughout. He is hoping that this NATO summit will be a chance for him to turn the page on a global stage to show not just the American people but the world that he is capable of doing this job and being re-elected to do the job. But it is distracting from the work that NATO actually wants to do and what the leaders are here in Washington, D.C. to achieve. Now, domestically, Joe Biden has survived so far. A handful of Democratic lawmakers have come out publicly and said that they think he needs to stand aside and pull out of the presidential race. But on Tuesday, there were closed-door meetings of House and Senate Democrats where this topic was discussed. And when they finished, nobody left those meetings. No leadership in the House or the Senate left those meetings calling for him to go. They were all backing Joe Biden. Perhaps the biggest test this week, then, that he's going to face, having survived those meetings, is on Thursday at the NATO summit, when he will be giving an unscripted press conference, which will be the first time that reporters have a chance to ask him questions face to face since that disastrous debate. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
US President Joe Biden returns to the campaign trail on Wednesday, railing the key constituency of Labour leaders, as some fellow Democrats continue to persuade him not to run again. For the past 13 days, 81-year-old Biden has been working to stem defections from Democratic lawmakers, donors and other allies worried he might lose to Republican Donald Trump, 78 years old, after his halting June 27th debate performance. Biden will join the AFL-CIO's Executive Council meeting in Washington on Wednesday to take questions from leaders of major US labor unions and discuss their shared commitment to defeating Donald Trump this November. US President Biden is under severe scrutiny over his physical and mental ability and health. This is after his disastrous presidential debate with Republican rival Donald Trump. A growing number of Democrats in the U.S. Congress are calling on Biden to end his re-election bid. Representative Mickey Sherrill became the 7th House Democrat to call on Biden publicly to drop out of the race, saying in a statement, the stakes are too high and the threat is too real to stay silent. Many more have expressed worries that Biden has not done enough in the ensuing days to convince voters that the debate was an aberration rather than a true reflection of his abilities. But the president continues to argue that he is best positioned to defeat former President Trump, whom he casts as a singular threat to American democracy. As campaigning for U.S. presidential election gains momentum, former U.S. President and Republican candidate Donald Trump took a jibe at President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris during a rally in Florida on Tuesday. He claimed that Democratic Party can't decide which of their candidates is more unfit to be president.
Whatever happened to common sense in government? We've got it. We've got more than anybody's ever had. Meanwhile, the radical left Democrat Party is divided in chaos and having a full-scale breakdown, all because they can't decide which of their candidates is more unfit to be president. Let's do another debate this week so that sleepy Joe Biden can prove to everyone all over the world that he has what it takes to be president. But this time it will be man-to-man, no moderators, no holes barred. Just name the place, anytime, anywhere.
Donald Trump is expected to try and move on from his recent convictions and unite the party at the Republican National Convention next week. DD India's Mitch McCann gets us more.
The US Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump has at least some immunity from prosecution for official acts taken while he was in office. And Judge Juan Merchan in the New York hush money case will have to decide whether that ruling impacts Trump's recent conviction for falsifying business records. Donald Trump was found guilty of 36 criminal counts at the end of May, becoming the first former US president to be convicted of a crime. It's possible he could be fined, sentenced to probation, or imprisoned for up to 4 years. The sentencing has now been moved back and won't take place until at least September, while the matter is being considered. That means it will no longer happen before next week's Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. It's there Trump's team will try and move on from the convictions and are likely to try and unite the party behind the presumptive candidate. And while Democrats are in chaos over the future of President Joe Biden and whether or not he should be replaced on the ticket, the Republican Party has released a schedule for a series of events taking place at the convention, including a number of receptions, lectures and presentations. It's expected that Donald Trump will officially become the Republican nominee at the end of the convention. I'm Mitch McCann in New York, reporting for DD India.